So you're in sales, you're doing a great job, you're working for a company that either is a startup company or at some point it's going to launch a new solution, a new technology, or a new product. If you're going to be successful in this environment, you've got to understand the adoption curve. Every product has an adoption curve. Every consumer plays a part on the adoption curve. Some people rush out to buy the latest, greatest right off the bat, pay hundreds if not thousands of dollars to have it because they want to be first. Other people wait and wait and wait and will not use that new thing until the thing that they have right now is broken. So let's talk about this. In the early 90s, Geoffrey Moore created a sensation by describing something called the chasm. He took the adoption curve that we knew, the 5 buckets, the 5 profiles of adopters, and he created this idea that right here in something called the chasm is where new products and new companies go to die. So you've probably heard a statistic around 90% or something around that of all new products and all new companies go to die. Well, it wasn't so much because of executive decisions and executive level activities that doom the company, though that happens. What usually happens with companies that die, and especially new products that die, is that we, the sales force and the marketing teams, failed to appreciate what we're about to talk about right now, the adoption curve. So let's talk about the brief profiles. You have innovators, and they are going to pick up a new technology simply because it's new. They like new, they like different, they want to be first, they want to play with it. The early adopter profile likes it because of the advantage it's going to give them. We sometimes call them visionaries. 30 seconds into your presentation, 2 minutes with your product, and they immediately see everything 6 months down the line. They see what this is going to do, how it's going to change the market. And the reason they jump in early is because they want to be first and they want their competition in the rearview mirror. These folks, the early majority, this is where we need to get to. This is part of making it into the mainstream. But these folks are looking for something very, very different. Sometimes we call them pragmatists, but what they are looking for is a solution, right? They want to make sure that the bugs have been worked out. They have made mistakes before. They're the big dog, they have a big reputation, they have a big practice, they have a big company. There's a lot riding on this decision. That's why you want them, right? They represent a lot of revenue for you and your solution, but they've made mistakes in the past. They did not wait for what we call a whole product or a market leader to emerge. They've made mistakes by buying Beta when the market went VHS. They bought Nokia when the market went to Apple. They can tell you point by point all these massive mistakes that they've made in the past by buying something too early, not waiting till it was assured, and they've lost a lot of money in the process. Late majority, they are followers. They want to know what the early majority is doing. And so this person's pretty easy to identify. They're super nice. They give you a lot of time. They're easy to talk to. And their first question is so-and-so doing it? So they can be really great and a lot of fun. But at the end, you have the laggard. Now, we also call them skeptics. And if you're in startup or if you're doing what we're talking about, and that's launching new products, you're thinking, well, why do I need to know anything about the skeptic? Actually, skeptics can be extremely valuable for us. So let's envision this. You are making a presentation, you're making a pitch to a group of customers. They're all in the same room. And if you're watching for the specific clues, you start to realize that, sure enough, you've got various profiles represented in the room. And how am I going to know when the skeptic pops up? And how do I know that person? Well, one of the things they're going to do is going to throw you a curveball trying to make themselves look like the smartest man in the room. But if you listen carefully to their objection, whatever they say, that's never going to work because of this. Really quickly, write that down. There are 2 things we want to do with that. One, we want to take that thing that they've said and write it down and elevate it up in leadership, because what they've just done is identified a hole in our value proposition. He's probably right, and you need to figure out how to address that.
Success requires insights. Elite execution requires training. Go to www.exsalesconsulting.com/special offers.